Moving over to Syracuse, they've been brought up once already. They, for the most part, I think feel pretty good about their roster going into this upcoming season, but they are now going to be without one of the best wide receivers that they had last year, and that's Trebor Pena. Pena, who had 84 catches last year for 941 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was the leading returning receiver for the Orange, and he was a part of the team that went from 6 wins to 10 wins in year number 1 under Fran Brown. But it sounds like, much like what happened with the Nico Iamaleava situation, it sounds like Trebor Pena might have overplayed his hand just a little bit. And how do we find out? Well, we'll take the coach's word for it. Let's have a listen to Fran Brown making a radio appearance when discussing Trebor Pena's exit from the program.
Sometimes people be asking for an outrageous number, like, right? You're not about to make more than every coordinator and all. Like, man, nah, like, stop. I ain't. With all due respect to everybody in the country, to every wide receiver, to everybody that's doing all this stuff, like, if you want to make $2 million at wide receiver, that's to blow a homie over at Ohio State. Ain't nobody else making that money. Giving no wide receiver no $2 million, man, in college. Nah, that ain't me. I ain't doing that. I can't do it. Unless they tell me that we get a chance to have Travis Hunter, he could come back to college and he could come here and play for us, then he gonna get some of my check. But I ain't paying nobody $2,000 this year. Not to me. $2 million, whatever. I just say, yeah, we ain't giving nobody that.
Well, there's Fran Brown being refreshingly candid with how he's approaching his negotiations with his wide receiver. But here is the indicator here. Okay, everyone wants to talk about, well, a receiver at $2 million or whatever that is. It's absurd, right? It does feel absurd in many ways. I mean, it really does. Unless your program is one wide receiver away from potentially get over the top. Why do you think Trebor Pena right now is en route to Penn State to go take a visit? Because that roster is completely set and ready to go win a national championship. Fran Brown hit the nail on the head. To overpay a wide receiver when your program is still a bunch of pieces away from contending at that level of the sport, you don't do that. But if you're just that wide out away from potentially getting over the top, you write that check immediately. Look, I think wide receiver is a position that has changed drastically over the last 15, 20, 30 years. And it's happened progressively over the course of time. It's maybe been a little while, but it's happened. We have watched the receiver position go from being a dime a dozen position to now a super premier position. The premier positions in the NFL and in college were always this. It was always quarterback, right? We knew quarterback was a premier position. You can't win without one. So whatever it takes to get a quarterback, you have to do it. A left tackle for a very long time, super premier position. Had to have it because for a long time, quarterbacks lacked mobility. Now with the quarterback's mobility, left tackle is not quite as big as it once was, but still, there's a reason why tackles get drafted first, second, third, fourth overall in the NFL draft because it is a super premium position. We've also seen edge rushers in the past. Those are guys that can end the game, guys that completely alter what you do offensively. If you have a crazy dynamic J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Jared Verse type of edge defender, I, as an offensive coordinator, I have to completely alter my structure to make sure that defensive end, that edge defender, doesn't take over the game and ruin the game. Okay, so quarterback, left tackle, edge defender. I now think that you can add corner, which was always a premier position, but I think corner is now fifth as far as premier positions are concerned. I think wide receiver has gone beyond corner as far as premier positions. I really believe that because I look at what these guys are now making in the NFL. In some cases, $35 million a year. I believe that's where Justin Jefferson was. Jamar Chase is right around there. Like the highest paid receivers in the game are making, 2/3 of what the highest paid quarterbacks in the game are making now in the NFL. What does that tell you about how NFL GMs view the wide receiver position. It's gotten more important every single year over the last handful of years. So if you are a receiver away, you do whatever it takes to get that guy. But if I'm really looking at Fran Brown's situation this year, I'm acknowledging, yeah, are we better off putting that $2 million into a wideout? Or is the roster nowhere near ready to compete against the best teams in the sport? So we're going to take that $2 million, we're going to spread it out amongst other guys, we're going to get more depth, and we're going to get more quality at multiple spots as opposed to overextending ourselves at one position. So I think it's a way of potentially looking at what the expectation level for Syracuse should be this upcoming year, but also an acknowledgement from Fran Brown. And yeah, you know what? That position for us is just not quite as valuable as it might be for an Ohio State or a program that might be that one dude away from getting it over the top.